When speaking of building and maintaining an offshore wind farm, a port and its infrastructure are very crucial. Because for a port, an offshore wind farm is actually a logistical challenge. Now, Port Oostende is one of the pioneers. They have a lot of experience, and that's why we warmly welcome Wim Stubbe, who's Business Development Manager of Port Oostende, and who will tell us more about the obstacles and solutions regarding harbour logistics. He does that together with Erik Bertholet, who is Business Manager Offshore Wind of Groningen Seaports, and with Thorsten Møller Gregersen, who is Business Developer of Vordingborg Erhverv. And who will also speak of a Danish port that has specifically chosen to become a port where offshore-related activities are possible. We're very interested to hear these three men. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Good day. It is a pleasure to say a few words on this occasion. In the country with the highest density in offshore wind farms, consideration with the shortest coastline in Europe. From Eemshaven, we highly appreciate the exchange of information which we share with the Port of Oostende. In the Into Power project, also the connection of the supply chain of the NNOW network in the northern Netherlands with the Belgian Offshore Cluster and the POM has resulted and proven to be successful. I wish you a very successful, regretfully virtual event from Eemshaven.
Hi, I am Thorsten Gregersen from Business Development Manager in Vordingborg Business. We have Klintholm Port, which originally was a minor fishing village with intensive tourism and pleasure boats during the summer. However, Klintholm is located as a natural gateway to the Baltic Sea. I guess you all are familiar with the EU ambition of more than 90 gigawatt of offshore wind power in the Baltic. Therefore, we have started a process to make further investments in Klintholm Port, since this is a natural choice for operation and maintenance in the western part of the Baltic. At present, Klintholm Port is O&M port for 2 wind farms. We hope to expand the port to allow further 4 to 6 operators, which match the wind farms in the near Baltic in pipeline. To ensure that the operators can have success, we also strive to motivate service providers to establish departments in Vordingborg. In April, we can welcome our first service provider who works with safety education. Based on our analyses, we can create more than 500 direct and derivative jobs if our investments are successfully completed. For us, it is important constantly to ensure good facilities for the direct operators, to ensure skilled service providers, and finally that our local businesses are ready to serve the industry 24/7. Our ambition is to make the Baltic Sea offshore hub so we can benefit from the realization of the EU decision. Thanks for your attention.
Mange tak, Thorsten, and hartelijk bedankt, Erik. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank both speakers for their presentation. They are not chosen random. They are chosen because they give an example of, let's say, a mature offshore wind port, which is the port of Groningen, and which has quite a lot of, let's say, experiences and has a long-term vision. And a newcomer in the market of the offshore ports, which is Klintholm, Port of Klintholm, which is a smaller port and part of the area of the Port of Vordingborg, which has chosen now to step into the facilitating of harbour logistics at the Baltic Sea. Because that's the topic that I will concern here in this short speech, is a little bit about offshore harbour logistics. Where are the obstacles? Where are the solutions? Where are the challenges? And how we can match these challenges. I have issues with the slides. If somebody can help me with the slides because they don't move. Yeah, oops, that's too much. Okay, what I would like to speak about is offshore logistics, offshore harbour logistics. First, what is harbour logistics? Then I would like to go to the obstacles for SMEs and SME ports. Then I would like to speak about the future challenges, and finally, I want to present a small business case. Hope it works now this time. Oops, we go backwards.
Ik gebruik deze niet te kraan.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe you can push the slides because
Dat
otherwise.
is hierna.
No, it's okay. The scheme is fine. The previous one, please. Thank you. So what is harbour logistics? Unfortunately, this is a little bit small, but we speak about in the first place by planning and surveying of the different activities at the seabed offshore. Secondly, we speak all about the project logistics, which is bringing the different components of the offshore wind farms together at the port. Third element is definitely the installation and commissioning. Fourth chapter of this harbour logistics concerns the operation and maintenance. And last but not least is the decommissioning chapter. For each of these kind of operations, so we have identified 5 streams of logistic operations, specified and special vessels are in use. And the ports and the SMEs have to be able to work with these kind of vessels in any condition at sea. Next slide, please. What are the obstacles for the SME and the SME ports in harbour logistics? I can say there are plenty. There are a lot of obstacles that can be identified. Simple element in this gremium is definitely the maritime component. The cost of working at sea is 3 times the cost of working at land. Simple statement, but it has an effect, especially for SMEs if they want to make operations at sea. Secondly, the technological developments. If we see over 10 years in Groningen, the port of Groningen and the port of Oostende, what has happened in 10 years' time in the offshore industry, I mean, there is a huge innovation track that has been organized and that has been affected. How, as an SME and an SME port, how can you match these kind of innovations and tendencies? Third element, very important, is the legal framework. There is an issue definitely with liabilities on one hand, and I heard the ministers this morning saying that she wants to be extremely boring, so I only can applaud for that because a stable legal framework is especially necessary for SMEs. Please do not forget the red tape, which is very much in case, especially if you want to work cross-border. Another obstacle is the economic setting. On the one hand, markets, even if we're working on a transnational market, the regulations are quite often defined on a national basis. This makes things quite complicated in order for an SME to work in different markets. It's an obstacle which needs to be worked on. Another element is human resources. Skilled workers are necessary for the SMEs, for the bigger companies, but of course, an SME cannot pay the same salaries as the bigger companies. Access to finances is for an SME definitely an issue. We all know that the financial sector is suffering from corona sclerosis, and they keep their money in their pockets instead of spending it and investing in the industry. Last point, which is quite important as well, is the issue with the stakeholders. Some of the maritime stakeholders are claiming the monopoly of certain areas at sea and make life for SMEs sometimes difficult. Next slide, please. What you see here is a small example of the port of Vordingborg in Denmark, where a small shipyard is working together with Vestas in order to use drones for positioning and maintenance. It gives an example where the port of Vordingborg, a shipyard, an SME, and the bigger industry can work together. Practical, pragmatic testing in the port area. Yes, please. Future challenges. It has been already mentioned by my colleague from Vordingborg, Erhverv. There are very high ambitions on the level of the Commission on installing offshore wind power. This is a kind of an overview of the potential market for the next years till 2030, whereby that a lot of activities need to be executed at sea by different companies and ports in the next years. Yes, please. What are the future challenges? It has been mentioned by previous speakers. New technologies are for SMEs a challenge and an opportunity. I refer to the importance of data, which has been coming up more and more important in the recent years. And of course, also the accessibility to data. Have the SMEs access to the data which are relevant for doing their operation. Another challenge is definitely the greening of the offshore operations. Up till now, I would say maintenance and installation is done with, let's say, traditional fueled ships. But of course, if you work in renewable energy and producing green energy, is there not an opportunity and a chance to go into green fueling and implementing CO2-free emission-free fueling? A challenge. Reorganization of the supply chain. There is quite a lot of activities which is going on in the supply chain. In the first place, we are facing the issue of bigger and biggest, where we were working with turbines of 2.4 megawatts. Now today, 8.5, 10 megawatt is becoming a standard, and the tests are being done with wind turbines of 50 megawatt, which means bigger sizes, bigger output. So this will bring quite a lot of challenges for the SMEs to work on that, and secondly also for the ports which have to work with that. Decommissioning, another issue. Where is the business case? Needs to be found out. Another transnational project called Decom Tools is working on that, where people from Norway till Flanders are working together on this issue. Upcoming markets is another challenge, and then I speak both technically as in the field of competition. The floating wind turbines are coming up. They're getting to a stage that they're quite mature, and the first test pilots are put into the sea. So another market is coming up with other demands, other facilities, and some of the challenges need to be investigated to tackle them. As to the competition, we all know that in China things are moving very fast, and the market there is getting very hot, bringing a straightforward competition into global level. Another challenge is the production of green hydrogen, whereby the interconnection between the offshore wind parks and the production of hydrogen on land or at sea is a key issue and a question which needs to be investigated. I think this is a challenge where both major companies and SMEs have a role to play. Another challenge coming up is the Nrd Energy Islands. Port of Esbjerg, or colleagues from Port of Esbjerg, are involved in the preparation of this kind of activity. Yes, please. What you see here is, of course, an example of a floating wind turbine, which is tested in Greek waters. Yes, please. To give a small example of business cooperation between SMEs, and I will refer to my own sector, which is the port business, I would like to give the example of the OEPP, the Offshore Wind Ports Platform, which is a functional cluster. It's not a nationalistic cluster. It's we are not waving flags to say that we are the best. We are a functional cluster where we try to work together as ports from different countries in order to share the best practices on the one hand, and also to open a conversation and a discussion with the policymakers and the industry. Today, we are 20 ports involved. We have started in 2016, 2017 with 5 ports. What do they represent? They represent 450 hectares of dedicated space for offshore wind industry and about 8,000 megawatts installed capacity for maintenance of wind turbines. The typology of the ports is very different. We have ports who go the whole way, the long ways, from going from preparations phase till decommissioning. Others have a very specific role to play in the field of maintenance or other activities. Their role in the ports is also to contribute to cost reduction of the production of the electricity. Together with the industry, they develop some kind of, let's say, procedures and technologies whereby the cost of the production of the energy can be reduced. The biggest or the nicest example that we can give here is the Ro-Ro pontoons that have been installed in the port of Hull, in Esbjerg and Cuxhaven, and at the port of Ostende, whereby that heavyweight nacelles can be rolled off and on the ships in order to prepare the installation of the offshore wind parks. Are there challenges? Yes, definitely. As port organization, as port platform, we see a lot of challenges next to the challenges that we have discussed a little bit before. Space in ports becomes a big issue. The European Commission has very high ambitions, wants to install quite a lot of capacity. Some speak about 70 gigawatt, others 90, others 111, 115 gigawatts. So whatever, name it and you will get it. This is definitely a challenge whereby cooperation between ports will be relevant in order to be able to make the installation of the offshore wind parks in the future. Second issue is definitely, it has been proven by the different examples that the investments of port infrastructure contribute to the reduction of the costs of the production of electricity. Considering the bigger and bigger and bigger offshore wind turbines, investment in port infrastructure is necessary. Today, we are happy that the European Commission is recognizing the role of ports, not only as, let's say, logistic players in the trade market, but also as a center for energy production and energy storage, and as centers for blue industry. This is for us very important, but we would like to see it more translated in practical dimensions. Are there dangers? Definitely there are dangers also coming up, whereby that we see that the situation of the industry is getting to, let's say, oligopoly. A limited number of producers are still in the market. And therefore, it's very important that we keep open the discussion and the conversation with the industry, especially to understand what are the demands, and in order to be able to organize the pipeline of projects in the near future. On the other, second danger is that the focus goes too much to the cost factor and not to the sustainability factor. Of course, some of the companies are focusing on their shareholders, but as it has been proven by my colleague Thorsten from Vordingborg Erhverv and Clinton Port, the offshore wind industry has also an important role to play in the community building and in the community development. If you can show that you have 500 new jobs coming to your community in your port, I think this is really an important asset for further community building. What you see here is a visit of the port of Gdynia at the port of Oostende last summer, I would say after summer, where we have been sharing our experiences together with Siemens in order to see how they can prepare their offshore terminal at the port of Gdynia. I would like to thank you for your attention, and I wish you all good offshore wind conference and drink afterwards. Thank you.